uh, a wonderful discussion forum for Right View Lab. And thank you, Bita and Yuichi. Uh, it's been a wonderful conversation we had last time, and that was the first one. So we are moving on to the further discussion on it. So before we jump into it, like I just want to welcome Yuichi and Bita uh, once again. Uh, how are you doing? Shall we start our conversation?
Yeah, very good. We're doing great, JK. Thank you for bringing people together and even make it more easy for new friends to join us thanks to your YouTube streaming. Yeah, we are also grateful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, JK.
Uh, to continue our conversation and discussion on what we left from the last time. So we were talking about the purpose of life. And though I was not convinced and I am trying to be hard on you guys, I don't know, I have not offended you. I hope so. But in terms of finding the meaning or purpose in life, right? Some of us like are not able to uh, accept or uh, go with the flow of what religions say and trying to find goals. Uh, that is not in my understanding. The reason is like I keep questioning. So I don't know whether that is good or not from the Buddhist scholars' perspective, right? You guys have given some explanation. So apart from that, what is that like? We need to look in deeper questions when it comes to life.
Okay, that's very good question, JK. Why do we need to have some kind of a spiritual foundation, or why religions even exist? Um, yeah. Why bother with the idea of purpose of life, right? So, yeah, I would say something and Yuichi can add to it. It's like when we look at life with all the hardships that we go through. So while life is easy and fun, we don't think about life's purpose. It's very natural. It's just that when we struggle in life, naturally we ask like, why me? Or why do I have to experience all these painful things? And if it happens, those painful things come one after another, people start wondering. I think it's very natural to start wondering, like, what is the point? Or is it worthwhile to keep on going like this? We always do the analysis of the benefit versus the cost. Is it worthwhile or not? So I think people who don't find the answer to why they have to keep on living if life becomes painful, so they choose not to go on. So it's a very important, critical, and urgent issue, I feel, for all of us. But it's just that when life is easy on us, maybe we don't need to think about it so much, right?
Yeah, Vita, I agree on that, right? So when does this question comes up, right? So when we were talking about like when we were child, we were happy and or we are trying to explore more things and curious. But you did said like right. So when we don't have a happy childhood, when everything is tough and hard and suffering, so then you fall into that trap and obviously the famous quote of the Buddha's life is suffering. So that uh, attracts to people who are suffering. And to that point, like when people are happy, they just don't care, right? So everything is going good. Like I'm happy. I'm so happy. Why should I even bother about inquiring the purpose of or meaning of life? Because the meaning itself is like I'm happy. Happiness is what makes life uh, uh, not to go deeper, right? So it is like the suffering which triggers people to question this and why should I live such a miserable life. So in that way, how do you comprehend like with the finding the cause or the source of suffering and going deeper into it? And also, what do you have to say about like when you address these meetups, like with all the others coming in and they share their uh, sorrows and other things, like, and how do you think that like we can find true happiness? And is that like happiness as such is real? I think uh, so. This all points to the conditioning of our mind, right? So Yuichi, help me out in understanding this, right? So the mind is the one which makes us like to feel all these emotions, whether we are happy or uh, sorrow, or why do we even suffer in our minds? What is that causes us to suffer?
I totally agree when you said when we are happy, when life is going well, why bother thinking about the purpose of life or meaning of life? And I agree with that 100% because that's human nature, and nobody even stop to think about the purpose of life when they are really happy. Me too. When we are happy, joyful, we don't need to think about that. All we have to do is enjoy the moment. So I totally agree with this. So I don't any opposing idea to this part. So the problem is even such happiness we experience, then little by little something happens, something creeps up in our mind. Even happiness is still going on. Something starts changing. Usually, happiness itself starts fading. Of course, we can search for another type of happiness. When one form of happiness fades away, we need to seek for another form of happiness, and that's our life. And that's our life is like sorry, my hands. Our our life is like a repetition of such activity. So I think you agree with this. In a sense, life is like climbing a mountain. So, yeah, climbing the steep slope is very painful and hardworking. But we know all the efforts will be rewarded when we reach the peak of the mountain. And that joy is so strong, we can take all the credit for ourselves. Of course, Buddhism emphasizes more on the gratitude side, but yeah, that's true. And that's happiness. And we talk about it a lot in our meetup. Happiness is not for the timid. Timid people cannot achieve happiness. We need to be brave, courageous, and take risk and make effort against a lot of painstaking. Yeah, we need to go through a lot of effort. And then once we achieve a goal, we experience a very strong, euphoric moment. Yeah, people experience this many times. But again, the joy of reaching the peak doesn't last such a long time. We need to find the next goal and start climbing up the peak again. So yeah, life is like a repetition of this. I think you guys, I mean, you or majority people experience this, especially for those people who are in their middle age, or prime age. I think most of them agree. But a question arises to human mind. Maybe such a question doesn't arise in animal mind, or those animal, cat, dog, or insect. I'm not sure. It's just my speculation. For human beings, a very simple question arises. Is there all to my life? Are these all to my life? Is life just a repetition of this same business again and again? You know, this question is very profound. This question arises even those people who are enjoying their life. This question arises to people who have no problems in life. And even those people who are blessed with so many forms of happiness, to those people who are completely satisfied with their life. In Buddhism, those people kind of belong to the realm of celestial beings. They can enjoy limitless pleasure in life. Some people might wonder, is there such a realm? I want to be there. Yeah, there's such a realm. And people can enjoy longevity. That means people live very long. So that's all we want, people think. Wealth and pomp and longevity. What else we need? So we can obtain all of these in this realm of celestial being. So in this world, human world, I think some people belong to this realm, although they belong to human realm, but they enjoy a lot of pleasure. People can go to concert and the museum every day because they don't need to work so hard. And they can enjoy reading, learning, and they can have a good relationship with people. Yeah, that's good. Maybe that's the result of their good karma in the past. So that's okay, but still, some people suffer in that realm. When I heard this, I was really skeptical, but we have heard of news of such examples already. The typical example is suicide of wealthy people. Of course, not all wealthy people suffer, but some suffer so deeply. In the past 5 or 6 years, we had example of Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain, and also a lot of celebrities. The movie actor, what was his name? Comedian.
Robin Williams.
Oh yes, Robin Williams. If we go back a lot, many years, then like Ernest Hemingway or the genius in company DuPont, Carruthers. So even though they are blessed with so much material abundance and social status, reputation, I think they must have thought, what's the meaning of life? So wealth and social status didn't give them answer. They have no problem. They didn't have any heavy debt. I'm not sure about their physical health or mental health. But materially speaking, they were living in the paradise on earth. Actually, many people envied their lives. But they were lost. They were like a small boat drifting aimlessly in the vast ocean at the mercy of waves and winds. They couldn't see any island or shore or a big ship. Even though on the boat, maybe there's so much food, water, enough water. But the boat, they were in the solitary boat in the vast ocean without any goal. If we were in such a situation, even though the future was guaranteed because there are so much food on the boat, they, of course, naturally, they feel despaired. They don't find the meaning of their lives. So one philosopher said suicide is the major theme in philosophy. So philosophers should think about suicide, the meaning of suicide, or something like that. Why people commit suicide? At first, I didn't understand what does it mean, but it's an indirect statement that philosophers give answers to the purpose of life. Yes, suicide is not committed by financial problem or health problem. Those are the two major causes of suicide, they say. But that's the superficial observation in my understanding. Financial issue or physical condition like cancer was just a trigger, I think. The fundamental cause is they lost meaning in their lives. When we have such problem, we start thinking about life. Well, what's the point of it all? Struggling through this heavy debt. All I'm doing is just returning my debt every month and no clear goal in my life. What's the meaning? Or if somebody has the cancer, all they have to do is going through chemotherapy and the strict diet and bedridden, no pleasure at all. What's the meaning? They lose the purpose. That's the direct cause of their suicide. So on the other hand, if such people had clear goal in their lives, they can survive. They can overcome their spiritual pain and suffering. Medical science put name to such suffering. They call it spiritual pain to their cancer patient. There are 5 pains for cancer patients. One is social pain, one is financial pain, another one psychological pain, and also spiritual pain. And I forgot the other one, the last one.
It's the physical pain.
Or physical pain, yes. That's most obvious one. Social pain is the relationship with their family members and friends. The relationship completely changed, and then it caused pain. And psychological pain, they have to think a lot about, that's social pain. Psychological pain. Can you explain, Bina, what is psychological pain?
Yeah, it manifests in different ways. It could be like, why did I have to get this disease? I was taking good care of myself. Why me? You know, my coworker, he's smoking and drinking every day and he's still healthy. Why did it have to happen to me? Things like that, I think. Or if they lose their job, or then they cannot do their work requirements. So it's like little by little, they might feel, I'm not being useful. I'm just receiving treatment. So what is the significance of my life? So I think it's the agony. You agonize over it. It's mental agony.
Yeah, especially they don't have any activity, so they keep thinking about it. It's a really strong pain. And financial pain is a burden of paying the cost of those lengthy treatment every day, every month. So it's a pain. And also those 4 kind of pains can be manageable through therapy and counseling. So medical practitioners have all sorts of services and cares for these 4 types of pain. But the last one, spiritual pain, they have given up. They cannot deal with this pain because it's about purpose of life. What's the meaning for the cancer patient to go through such struggle and procedure? What's the meaning of it all? So that question is the heaviest burden for the patient. And medical science, they say, cannot offer a clear answer. Of course, some people overcome this pain, spiritual pain, through changing their perspective. It's like there's a phrase, don't be a victim, but instead become an advocate. I heard this from somebody, a friend of mine. Yeah, that's a good phrase. Don't instead of becoming a victim, become an advocate. So those people start to, even cancer patient, stand up and try to extend their helping hand to the fellow cancer patients. And then through that activity, they can find a certain meaning. So that's a very good way. But if we observe it deeply, the fundamental question remains unsolved. What's the meaning of going through this meaning of it all? That question is still not clear. I have to say it's it's still unclear. So what's the purpose of life? This is still a really deep and difficult question, and everybody wants to know the answer. I think, I said everybody, but while we are so happy, we don't see the necessity. That's true. But I have to say, as time passes by, sooner or later, this question arises to people's mind. So if somebody said, "Oh, I'm happy, I'm too happy to think about the purpose of life," that's okay. And Buddhism doesn't deny that, because this is human nature. So we just wait. Then this question, I think this question arises. Maybe I have to stop talking here.
Yeah. Again, that's nice to hear from you, Yuichi. Bita, if you want to add something before I throw out my thoughts here.
No, so that's good. I think, I think you had two questions. So this was the answer to the first one. Yeah, you can throw your next or whatever it is you want to bring in.
I mean, from whatever like Yuichi you said, right? So it is not complete. The knowledge can never be complete, and it is what why I have to. I'm not taking sides, but then every religion is like kind of trying to find some answers and stories and making up things that is not real, right? So just for example, the aurora, I just like this video very much, so that's why I brought that up. And it looks so fascinating and beautiful, and if we don't have any scientific explanation for this, obviously religion would have made up stories saying that God and all those nonsense, right? But then this looks beautiful, but it's not beautiful. Actually, it is a dangerous thing, right? The electromagnetic fields are struggling to uh, fight with the sun rays, and it is seen only in the northern pole. And if it creates calamity, right, if it breaks through, then it becomes a huge disaster for humans. That can be known only through science, right? And science doesn't solve all the answers, right? It admits, right, if it doesn't know, like, it's ready to inquire, find out. But then whereas you were talking about the general theory of how we trying to understand the purpose or meaning of life, right? When we say like I don't know, right? There is no purpose, there is no meaning, right? Let's find it out. I'm ready to inquire together. But then, without admitting it, all the religions are arrogant and coming up with this concept saying like, oh, this is your past karma, or I'm not fan of Hinduism or anything. Like, even Hinduism is not a religion, many people say this. And uh, just like Christianity or Judaism or any other religion, right? So everything is based on some certain dogmas, right? How do we have that from the young age, corrupting the mind, and the even if it is like there is a consciousness or spirituality is not proven by science. I don't still agree on many things, right? We talk about consciousness, like what is that consciousness? Do humans alone have consciousness? And even you brought this up like in some of the meetings, right? So the threat of AI, the whole world is going crazy. Everybody is talking about artificial intelligence, right? So AI is going to take over humans, or uh, uh, the end of humanity is going to come. What do you have to say to those things? Because I'll say that like to what you said, right? It's an extraordinary courage, like, or stupidity to that matter, people who commit suicide. We have no clue what they go through in their mind, as you said, right? We might assume people who are rich and wealthy are living a good life. How do we know? Like, internally they might be longing for more, and that is what is happening, right? Whether you are uh, rich, comfortable, you have all the comforts in life, and hundreds of people serving you, and they might be scared, they might be insecure, right? Because those things can go off anytime. And what if they have to become beggar? Like, so that kind of trauma, normal people who are not that rich will not experience it. So that is why, like, we cannot judge the other person's suffering, right? Only by them expressing it we can understand. Or some people who committed suicide might return a note saying that like, this is the reason I am committing suicide, and they do that. Then we can, to a certain point, we can understand their mind and why they did this. So that might be for a stupid reason, because they are not able to see life as it is or solve the problems. And to your point, right? So even people who go through cancer or suffer immensely with their body, psychological, social, all this pain, they do survive, right? They do fight it with it and for a longer period and die. So why is that? Like, some people are able to sustain with all this suffering and still they don't commit suicide, but whereas like people who just don't have with all the richness or famous, still they are not able to sustain their life and they end it. So ending of your life is in your hand means then you have the every potential to deny God, right? That is the beauty of it. I read somewhere else, like I don't recollect who said that, but that is the proof that humans are not created by God. So when people commit suicide, means like you can end your life. Nobody has a control on your life to uh, give you some meaning or purpose. It is you who are making up your own purpose, your own, as you rightly said, right? So don't be a victim, be an advocate of victim. Then you can try to solve the problem for yourself and for others. Uh, that I like it. But at the same time, uh, going back to the question of why we are so insecure in our mind, and is that mind a collective consciousness being corrupted by all the past generations, is continuing to make us suffer? How do we break that chain and be liberated?
Very
Oh
Bita.
boy.
long question.
Oh boy. If I know that, like, I would not be here.
Yeah, so that's good. Yeah, many questions you covered. Yeah, I'm sure people who are listening to us, who will be listening to us, yeah, they share a lot of those questions too. Yeah, I think it's very good to have such a sincere questions and to ask so openly or with your rationality. Yeah, because most people, I mean, if you look at the world, because we have all these conflicts in the world, it's because people cannot talk peacefully. Yeah, they get emotional and hostile, argumentative. Then that's why nothing goes forward. So your questions are valid. Many people have asked the same questions. Um, yeah, yeah.
So
So
Bita,
I
you mean to say like you are not special, you are asking the same dumb question. There is nothing to answer.
no, they're not the bad questions. Yeah, questions are helping the individual to gain clarity. So they're good. Yeah, they're good. You know, if we look at the world, we see some cultures. You know, in Japan, I met this person from Kenya, and he was talking about the civil war between two tribes in Kenya, and they're both like black. It's not about the skin color or anything. They're same country people, but it's the tribes are a little different. One of them are taller, one of them is shorter, and I don't remember the names. But they have been killing each other for a long time. Where does that come from? You know, from superstitions or desire for more power. It's always like that. And I think people use religion and God in order to justify their war. Yeah, so that's why it's important to ask those questions, to be honest and be truthful with ourselves. So yeah, I should have written down your questions. I think Yuichi has a good memory.
I remember a few. So the first part, I totally agree about the dogma of many religions. Actually, in my home country, Japan, there are 180,000 religions. Yeah, that's a lot, big number. And if we add up all the followers and parishioners, the population will much bigger than the population of the whole country, Japan. Many people believe in multiple religion, maybe. And most of them, yeah, I mean, I have to say some of them are cult religion. And yeah, most of them are neutral, but some are really bad religion. Then they take advantage of human suffering, and when people suffer too much, it's like a drowning man catches even a straw. So, or thirsty people drink even muddy water. In this way, many people end up believing in really bad religion, and their suffering get worsened. Some people just exploit the followers, and the followers become poorer because they have to give all the money they have. Yeah, and in worst case scenario, people commit mass suicide. Yeah, it happened recently in Mexico. Yeah, one part of Mexico, there were cult religion. So that's the dark side of so many religions. Yeah, so I have to say, there are so many such cases. Yeah. So that's why Einstein said a very famous words about science and religion. What was it, Bita?
Oh yeah, so it's like, so science without religion. No, first is religion without science. We're talking about dogma. So religion without science is blind. But science without spirituality is lame, because then they created robots or AI that might remove human existence from Earth. So it's lame. It's not complete. It's gonna collapse, or it's not. It cannot go forward straight and grounded. It's lame. Yeah.
No, thank you. Yeah, so I have to say many religious group don't teach the law of cause and effect. Rather, what they teach is against the law of cause and effect. So in that sense, they are not scientific at all. Actually, they ignore the law of cause and effect. They expect a good effect without making good causes, something like that. And then they said we can avoid bad effect without refraining from bad deeds. So those are completely against the law of cause and effect, which means they are not scientific at all. They are superstitious. But unfortunately, in human mind, there are some parts that want to believe in superstition. For example, these days, there are many attempts of launching spaceship or rocket or satellite. SpaceX or NASA. And in Japan, there are one or two such groups. One is part of the government and one is a private company. And then all a big bunch of engineers and scientists put their utmost effort to make it successful. But in many cases, their experiment fails. And then they have to waste a lot of money. It's not waste, but they lose a lot of money, billions of $1 billion or more. So before the experiment starts, I heard this news in Japan. All engineers go to a Shintoism shrine and pray for their success to the god. I was dumbfounded by hearing this news. Scientists, engineers, I think they strongly believe in the law of cause and effect. But even though they gave everything they had to their project, but in many cases, it failed. So they must have thought there must be something beyond the law of cause and effect. Maybe we need to ask success to the God, and then go to the shrine and pray for success. This is what Buddha called ignorance, human ignorance. Ignorance about the law of cause and effect. We all have this. If we suffer from a lot of sickness, one after another, we might end up thinking, oh, maybe I'm possessed by the devil or bad spirit. Many people think in this way, and then they go to exorcism, something like that. It's all against the law of cause and effect. We get sick because there is a cause. but many religions take advantage of this dark mind, ignorance. Then they say, we should remove bad spirit from your body. Anyway, I don't need to explain too much. So all the religion should be in line with the law of cause and effect. This is one important ground premise. And if I move on to the topic of consciousness, in my last talk, I touched upon the topic of AI, artificial intelligence, and consciousness, and that triggered a lot of questions. Actually, my knowledge is so limited, so I couldn't explain everything, but still, I have to say, I heard from somebody that he had a chat with AI, and the conversation was so smooth, and it looked as if the AI had some consciousness, because the response from the AI was perfect, as if it has feeling and emotion. But as of now, the matter of the fact is, AI just gather all the information out there and find out what's the best response to a certain type of question or remark. And they calculate this so fast, and that's why they can create the perfect response to each remark of a human being. It's not that they have consciousness, but they do a lot of data processing not in a nanosecond. So that part is like the cognition of our brain. Yeah, we do that in our brain with much less speed. So in this sense, AI and human brain has something to do, share something common. But what AI doesn't have, I explained last time, is emotion or preference or experience. Human-like experience, like memory with some emotion. When we recall our memory, strong emotion can be the trigger, key. Usually a memory is stored together with a certain kind of emotion. That's why when we experience strong emotion, that experience remain in our memory for quite a long time. It easily turns to long-term memory. If you don't have strong emotion, it's difficult to remember it. But AI collect data or information without the help of such emotion. Human being, it's necessary. So AI doesn't have emotion. Of course, maybe people might say, oh, maybe in the future, AI might have emotion. So I cannot say anything definite about the future. So it might be possible, but in Buddhism, there is such a term, which is sentient being. Human beings belong to sentient being, and animals, fish, birds, insect, a reptile, and yeah, living beings that have ego or sense of identity. But plants, flowers, and trees they don't belong to sentient beings. In Buddha's category, they don't have consciousness. This is Buddha's categorization. I know some vegetables grow better when they listen to the music of Mozart. This is the result of a scientific experiment conducted in Japan. So in some vegetable factories, these days, lettuce or some leaf vegetables are grown in a factory, not with soil, but from in water. They don't get influence from weather. So it's a future kind of farming, they say. And in some factory, they play the music of Mozart, and then they can harvest more. So it looks like vegetable plants become happier when they listen to the music of Mozart. Might be true. But again, maybe it's not a result of their emotion. Maybe it's rather kind, I don't know. It's I cannot explain this. So
Yuichi, I just want to jump in here, right? So you said human beings alone are sentient, animals are not.
Animals too.
Yeah, animals do. Okay, yeah. Okay. I just want to clarify, because many people, right, those who have some of their pets as well, they do say this, right? So they are so attached to it, and the pets respond to their owners, like or the caretakers, like to their voice, smell, and their touch, and all those things. And many people, even like many cultures, have this, right? Even cows, like feel the pain and it cries, all those things they say. Like even dogs are like very emotional creatures.
Right. Yeah, Bita says when she sees our cat's eyes, she can see human eyes. Yeah, Bita is very good at communicating with the cat.
Yeah, I don't see an animal behind those eyes. Yeah, I see some deep form of energy, a soul or consciousness. Yeah, Yuichi often asks the cat, "What are you thinking?" The cat doesn't respond, just continues thinking. Yeah. So
Yeah. Go ahead. No, the problem here is, right, so they don't have that auditory capacity to speak, or uh, that part is not triggered in their brain, right? Even the kids, when the child is born, and when you look at those things, right, they just look at everyone, and it smiles and it cries, and when it is hungry or it has to be cleaned, so those things, right? So uh, the born child, the baby doesn't understand anything, right? So it just survives on the existence with the caretakers help, and still it becomes like to be on its own, it cannot survive. But whereas the animal species are like, in a different way, they can survive uh, within few days or months, even if it is not taken care by their uh, elders or parents, right? So we can see that in the wild as well. uh, the struggle is for humans, like, has to from the young age, right, or even from the day we are born, we have to be taken care of, nourished, and without that, we will not be able to survive. So that makes us into this trap of consciousness. Like I might be going critical or being harsh, but to question it, uh, is that what creates us to make that insecure images in our mind and keep uh, longing for security, and also uh, seeking more knowledge and information will make us smarter? I don't know. I don't know. I just wanted like to. I'm not sure like everybody will like this. So maybe I wanted to check with you, Bita and Yuchi. Can I tell a joke like that? I recently, uh, not recently, I heard a couple of times in different groups. Uh, so I just wanted to share that, like how humans are so arrogant with their knowledge and thinking that like they are the part of this consciousness or whatever that is, right? Let me share this joke with you guys. Like, with your permission, can I go ahead and read that?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can share it on the screen, it's even better.
Oh, yeah, I can do that as well.
Yeah.
Or I will look up the link.
Yeah.
Yeah. When the body was first made, right, all its parts wanted to be boss. So the brain said, since I control everything and do all the work, I should be the boss. And the feet said, since I carry man where he wants to go and get him to do what the brain wants, I should be the boss. The hands said, since I I must do all the work and earn all the money to keep all the rest of you going, I should be the boss. Then the eyes said, since I must look out for all of you and tell you where danger lurks, I should be the boss. And so on it went with the heart, the ears, and the lungs. Finally, the asshole spoke up and demanded that he be the boss. All the other parts laughed and laughed at the idea of an asshole being boss. The asshole was so angered that he blocked himself off and refused to function. Soon the brain was feverish, the eyes crossed and ached, the feet were too weak to walk, the hands hung limply at his side, the heart and lungs struggled to keep going. All pleaded with the brain to relent and let the asshole be boss. And so it happened. All parts did the work, and the asshole just bossed and passed out a lot of shit. I don't know whether there is a moral in this, but still, the moral of the story, you don't have to be a brain to be boss. Just an asshole can do it.
Yeah, it's a good thing none of us here is a boss. No offense taken. But that's true. We can never make light of anything in this world.
I certainly want to be a boss, which means like I want to be an asshole. that's, that's the meaning, right? Anyone who wants to be a boss is an asshole. If we say that, like nobody wants to be boss.
Yeah, we are all equal.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Something like, I don't know whether others will like this kind of joke, but still, right? So from this point, right, I'm trying to look at it. So every other piece is important, right? I'm not denying that, and that's the reason. Like even many people are going uh, silent or not to offend others, or questioning itself looks like you are disrespecting, right? And that's why like I don't know whether I should be saying this, but even if people who are following certain things, right, there is nothing wrong, right? You are accepting one thing, right? Okay, Jesus is the God, and that is what my belief, and I'm going to follow that path, and I identify myself as a Christian. And still, why do they want like to look into other religion, or is that like they are not satisfied over there and trying to look into the other religions, or what is there in Buddhism or Buddhist way of life? That is what surprises me. Uh, have you ever felt, right? Because it is like you both will identify yourself as Buddhist, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yes.
Bita is not sure. Still, she has Islamic roots, so she might secretly praying to Allah. Yuichi, I'm not trying to bring in or fight between you both.
It's okay. I understand it. Her situation.
Yeah. So, once you find happiness, yeah, you're settled, you are at ease and satisfied. You don't have to search anymore. That's the beauty of it. It doesn't mean your life will end, you want to die. You can give more when you find happiness for yourself. Yeah, just like when you eat a nice meal, you're satisfied. You don't start looking for food anymore. Actually, if you pass by a restaurant or some smell of food, you even feel like it's too much when you eat a lot. So it's as long as people are searching, so that's the proof that they have dissatisfaction. And just to be alive itself is full of dissatisfaction, so we understand why people search. And it's one thing to believe in a god, just on in a theoretical level, and one thing else to when your faith in god or whatever is tested. Like, I read a long article about Mother Teresa, who was so kind and dedicated all her life to help the people who in poverty and all that. But when she was dying, it is reported that she said, "God, why have you forsaken me?" So it's one thing to believe, and then it's something else when our faith gets tested and challenged. So yeah, and Buddhism is offering us the happiness that does not shake or waver. Um, Yeah, and it's not faith-based. It's not that I believe in it, so I'm gonna feel happy. We have to obtain it. We have to attain it. Yeah, acquire it. So that's why it's a lot of work of going within to look at the self. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I enjoy our conversation, right? Because what you said is also, in a way, telling to people like who are suffering and coming to listen, and just tell them, right? Okay, you are screwed already. Life is suffering, so no matter what, so you have to find and seek answers and find the cause, and you will find your answers. It is something like that attracts, I don't know, for many people like to look at the concepts, but whereas like in, it's not like trying to attack, but other religions like are uh, little bit, or I would say like arrogant in a way, like they are closed and closing the loop by giving control to some other external entity and saying that as a god or whatever that is, right? And now even I'm struggling to understand when everybody uses the scientific concept, because science has evolved in a recent years, right? But religions were there like for thousands of centuries. And why do you like grab the recent concepts of the science, and science doesn't give you solid answers? It is changing all the time. And that is one thing like I wanted to say, like the human mind has been so rigid that they are so adamant to see like the possibility of AI, uh, being sentient. And maybe we can touch upon that, like do further research to understand what is the threat we are posing from that. Because always like humans feel that like everything is in danger and they are being attacked by animals. So we have taken control of the animals kingdom. And that is one thing, like now we should, even if we don't exist, right, the world will exist on its own, right? It doesn't need us. So why is that like we are so arrogant and thinking that like we might be the reason for the AIs to come in place, and they can take over and they can be more smart, right? They can overcome this problem of human suffering, and they can live maybe a purposeful life or meaningful life, because robots are made for a certain purpose. And even with the recent thing, right, so it's in the early stage, primitive stage, so we will not know, and we are in a way corrupting those AI as well with all the information that we have right now, feeding that. And when we talk to the chat GPT, or even with the Lambda, the Google one AI, that triggered the controversy that they are becoming more conscious, and they are being over smart and answering to our expectation. I'm still confused with what is the problem in that for the humans. If something else evolves in a better way than us, even if our child, our future generation is uh, getting smarter than us, then we should be happy about it, right? We should be satisfied with that. But people are, on the contrary, finding that as a problem. I'm still struggling to understand that. So, is this the basis of our uh, insecurity, or what do we call this? And why do we do that?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question that we can come back to for our next session. Yeah, I think it has something to do with the Schadenfreude mind, which means taking delight, or it's opposite of that. It's more like a kind of jealousy. We don't want to see someone surpass us. Yeah, it's human nature, right? It's one of the three blind passions: desire, anger, and foolishness. Foolishness, jealousy falls under that, foolishness. Uh, Resenting excellence, that's what it is. Yeah, not Schadenfreude, that's the opposite. So resenting excellence, we have that, and it's a good topic, I think, for the next one in July. Perhaps we will have another one, or end of June. So to be continued.
Yes, thank you again, Bita and Yuichi. Yuichi, if you have anything to add, or you're good to close.
No, yeah, this is very interesting topic. So I think many people find it interesting too. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, thanks to JK. We appreciate your efforts, your time, your energy, and your skillfulness, and your AI capabilities. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you all for listening to us.